Good evening to all the members that are on the virtual platform. Thank you for availing yourself to assist in making this presentation possible from National Treasury. And I would like to ask before we start, who will be leading the delegation from National Treasury? I see a Deputy Minister on here. But can someone from National Treasury just indicate to us who will be leading the presentation to water and sanitation? Honourable Siripan.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. If you'll allow me, I'd just like to introduce the team from National Treasury, who will be presenting to you today. So if you'll just give me the delegation today, Chair, led by Ravesh Rajlal from our IGR team. And then we will also have several other persons from the Treasury available as well to deal with all the questions. From my delegation, I've got Mali van der Voda, I've got Anthea Stevens, I've got Sifiso Mbaso, and I've got Dudu Ramalho. So we will be presenting accordingly on the, as per the committee's request, the briefing on measures to prevent the water boards from falling into bankruptcy, as well as strengthening municipal financial sustainability. So, Chair, I will
Recording in progress
until 7 p.m. Unfortunately, I have a conflicting appointment at 7, but I'll also be available to answer any political questions from the committee until 7. Thank you very much. So with that, Chair, back to you. I can then hand over to the team.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister. Colleagues, I just want to explain how we deal in water and sanitation. I'm going to allow you a half an hour to make your presentation. And thereafter, we're going to ask questions. A member will ask a question, and when he finishes his question, you will reply to his question. So each member will get 3 questions to ask, reply, and if they're not satisfied with the question or there's a follow-up question, they will ask that question. So you've got half an hour to do your presentation. You don't need to do it in a manner that you can go through the presentations, because we have received it, and to highlight where so saying that to you, I think we can continue, Deputy Minister. If you want to open with some remarks, you're more than welcome, and then go over to the question or the presentation by your department. Thank you.
I'm still on the road, Chair. I would suggest that we proceed. The DG will lead the team, and then at the end, I'll make 1 or 2 remarks when it's complete in terms of the issues of the presentation. This allowed DG Sean Phillips, Dr. Phillips, and the team to make the presentation, because it's also linked with what Treasurer will do in terms of the financial position of our water boards and the threats to viability. Thank you, Chair.
Deputy Minister, we're first going to deal with the National Treasury. And when we complete it with National Treasury, they may leave. And then we will continue with the Amatola Water Board issue that you have now mentioned, where you and the DG will lead the presentation. So over to you, Honourable.
I'm happy, Chair.
Deputy Minister. Honourable Siripan, you are more than welcome now to start.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, just by way of introductory remarks and to save the committee time, I do want to say that the general state of municipalities, municipal finances, and the capacity of municipalities to collect revenue and pay their debt to government entities and water boards and Eskom is a very important political priority for this administration. And also, Chairperson, to further add that one of the areas in which Operation Vulindlela is looking to be expanded into in phase 2 includes local governments. So with those introductory remarks, I'd like to hand over to my team. I've got Mr. Ravesh Rajlal ready to present, and if we can hand over to him, I'd be most grateful. Thank you, Chair.
You're welcome. You can continue, sir.
Thank you, and good evening to the Deputy Ministers, the Chairperson, and the Honourable Members as well of the committee. My name is Ravesh Rajlal. I'm from the National Treasury in the Assets and Liability Management Division. With me, we have a team from my division as well, ALM, and also the Intergovernmental Relations. So, Honourable Chair, we're taking your cue that we're not going to go through each slide, slide by slide in detail. We'll just cover the salient points and just focus on some of our key recommendations. So with that said, let me just quickly share my screen. Let me just turn off the camera to save bandwidth as well. So let me just quickly share the presentation. I just want to make sure that you all can see the presentation. Great. Okay, so Honorable Chair and Honorable Members, I think just in terms of the brief that we as Treasury have been given, in terms of our presentation today, we're going to focus on largely key three areas, which is around some of the challenges and the facing the municipalities. Then we're also looking at some of the issues, challenges around the metro trading services as well. And then lastly, we're going to basically look at the challenges facing the water boards, and then some of our key recommendations that we have provided as collectively the National Treasury. So let me then hand over to Magalies, who is going to take us through the municipal part first. And then we'll hand over to Anthea, and Sefisa will then deal with the metro matters. Magalies, over to you.
Thank you, Ravesh. Good evening, honourable members of Parliament and colleagues. I think we from our nation.
My apology,
Yes.
Magalies. Can I ask, people won't know you, well, I
Sure.
also don't know you, whether you maybe just in the beginning just put on your camera and then you can put it off again.
Okay, I'm going to try my best to share. I've tried to set up earlier, but it wouldn't let me. So let me just try again. Just give me a second.
Well, just continue if he doesn't want to go.
I'm sorry. I tried earlier. I don't know why it's blocking me on Zoom to share the video. I'll try again later. My apologies for that. Honourable members, so from the National Treasury's work, looking also particularly at the water debt, there's certain key issues why municipalities are unable to pay water boards and other creditors. And I think what's most key or the most biggest problem is that many municipalities simply do not collect enough of their revenue to pay water boards and Eskom and other creditors. And the most key thing underpinning that is the leadership culture to not enforce credit control and collect debt. Secondly, that exacerbates this problem is the dismal local government collection in the Eskom supplied areas. Eskom is legally prohibited at this point in time through the Electricity Regulation Act to assist municipal revenue collection in the municipality where they directly supply electricity, and water then as a restriction tool is not very much favored. So if we're not collecting all of our revenue, we need to adjust our expenditure to what is affordable, but we see that many municipalities persistently fail to prioritize expenditure within what they can afford. And then distribution losses, that is significant, and that makes up for us a package. When we talk of that, we're talking about theft or infrastructure that's not maintained, which result in losses, and then tariffs not recovering cost. So I think, Ravesh, if you can move on to the slides here for me to slide 6, then I just want to touch there. I've put up a table for you there just to show the National Treasury analysis for example, for electricity, the differentiated tariff approvals over the past 10 years plus, when we look at what NERSA has approved for municipalities, which is much lower compared to Eskom, and if we couple that then with seasonal tariffs, many municipalities simply do not collect enough revenue over these winter months, particularly to pay what their bulk accounts are to Eskom. So what happens then? And this is not just the case for electricity. We see it across the package of our trading services. It is recovering on other services to make good. And if it's not enough, we have this gap of not being able to pay creditors, which then becomes bigger and bigger over time. And then a rates base that's not always complete, looking at the general valuation role versus what they're actually billing. Then we've got that problem that even if we bill or collect 100% of what we're billing, it's not sufficient to pay our creditors. Ravesh, you can move on for me then to slide 9, please. I'll talk to that package. So we've got a revenue management improvement program for local government, and I would like to touch on some key issues that is included in our package of support addressing these key issues. So I think what's most critical for us at this point is probably our smart transversal prepaid solution. So in terms of an earlier interministerial task team for electricity, there was a decision taken to move towards a forward perspective of a consolidated municipal bill. So where we would like to end up in a few years' time is that at the start of the month, a consumer will receive a municipal bill that's got rates on it and all for the main trading services, and then you pay upfront, as opposed to the current situation where we only recover what is due after the service has already been provided. So the main focus has been on electricity so far, but already as a first step, we've got a transversal RT29 smart meter solution in place. And that also allows for similar solution for water. And we need to progressively gear towards this. So this is quite a big project, and we're working across the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy, the Department of Trade and Industry, and also the Office of the Chief Procurement Officer. Then a large portion of our package of support is geared towards addressing the structural challenges in tariffs. So here, a lot of work is going into helping municipalities to determine cost-reflective tariffs, tariff modeling, and the underlying socioeconomic and financial viability studies. That also includes reusable models, replacement of smart meters to our large power users, where we see most of municipalities' revenue being lost. And then also towards addressing aged debt, a project to assist municipalities determine what can be recovered and helping to collect that. Then ongoing revenue management capacity building, master classes, pay-as-you-go campaigns, and a technical hands-on support program. Particularly there, we're focusing a lot on our weaker municipalities that are in crisis or participating in debt relief. And there's various support towards them, some covering on the areas I've already touched on, but particularly also helping them with best practice budget policies, standard operating procedures, audit queries, assessing their revenue value chains to understand better gaps and particularly focus on addressing those. And in the area of debt relief, we've been working together with Eskom to develop the Municipal Eskom Debt Relief Program, which a key component is to also, through the ring fencing of the Eskom debt and the conditions, facilitate some space in the fiscal capacity of participating municipalities to then maintain the Eskom current account and also bulk water accounts and other creditors. Then you're also working with the Department of Water and Sanitation on the proposed concept water debt relief program. Then Ravesh, if you move to the next slide. I think if we look at our own program, there are certain areas where we definitely are looking to explore additional measures. And I think the key here to note is particularly in the area of the recovery of trading services. And here, if we only focus on water, or we only focus on electricity, we see as a package that it doesn't take us forward. We need an integrated solution across the trading services to actually resolve also the problem for water, because they don't operate in isolation. Then particularly, we need some regulatory changes to allow for stricter fiscal discipline and faster consequences in where there is financial mismanagement, and an overall more strategic approach to debt management. I think what we're seeing is that Eskom wants to focus on Eskom, water wants to focus on water, but we actually need wider negotiating repayment terms with all creditors to look for a bigger and a wider solution. Thank you, Satish. I'm going to stop. Ravesh, I'm going to stop there.
Thank you, Marilee. We now hand over to Anthea. Thank you.
Good evening, colleagues. My name is Anthea Stevens. I'm from the National Treasury City Support Program, where we work with the 8 metropolitan municipalities in supporting those metros to position themselves as the engines of economic growth that the country requires. I'm going to cut my video just in the interest of bandwidth, but it's a pleasure to be engaging the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee on this topic. National Treasury has a particular interest in focusing on the 8 metropolitan municipalities because of the expectation and the contribution of these metros to economic growth in the country, as well as the growth of new jobs. However, in order to achieve these contributions, metros need sustainable and viable trading services. And in this case, we're talking about electricity, water and sanitation, as well as solid waste. However, we are seeing long-term investment in these trading services, as well as under budgeting for repairs and maintenance, really constraining growth. And the slide gives some examples of specific cases where major development projects are being held back due to a lack of infrastructure capacity. We've seen that these big urban centers, our cities, have grown geographically substantially, while bulk water, sanitation, and electricity infrastructure has not matched growth. However, the connections to households, firms, and so on have increased. So we're not keeping up with the bulk in order to match the growth. We also see that these failing trading services significantly undermine investor confidence and increase the cost of living for citizens. We know as a result of very diagnostics that the investment in these trading services in metros, particularly, including in bulk and link, is inadequate in relation to the need. And we are seeing that we're now sitting with what we would call an Eskom situation when it comes to water and sanitation, where investment is lagging significantly behind growth. Recognizing this urgency, the National Treasury has been working with national departments, including the Department of Water and Sanitation, to design and implement a reform which focuses on using a performance-based finance incentive to strengthen municipal financial sustainability in metros, which also seeks to radically gear up metro investment in their infrastructure. We appreciate the contribution of metros to the debt of water boards, aside from Mangong, and there is a slide that speaks to this, is otherwise fairly small. but the importance of sustaining and growing our metro economies and the Achilles heel of failing water businesses, electricity businesses to this is a significant risk that National Treasury, as well as the sector departments, have recognized and are dealing with. Next slide, please. So we are seeing the trading services in metropolitan municipalities are in a negative reinforcing loop. And I think it is well recognized that the situation extends beyond the municipalities and in cases is worse in municipalities. However, given the focus of National Treasury on the 8 metropolitan municipalities, given the economic importance of these metros, Treasury is focusing on our trading services reform on the metros at the first instance. Once we have tested the effectiveness of this reform, there is intention and the possibility of extending this reform beyond, but we do need to prove it in the metros first. So trading services are particular services that municipalities deliver for which charges are levied. And the intention of these charges is for the municipality to make a surplus on the delivery of the services. Charges are based on consumption or proxies, and their long-term objective of the trading service is to sustainably provide universal access. The critical thing with the surplus is that it needs to be reinvested back in the infrastructure of the trading service in order to keep up with growth and maintain the service. However, we're not seeing that long-term investment in our trading services infrastructure in the metros as well as beyond. The result is declining services. We're seeing this precipitous decline in cash revenue in metropolitan municipalities. The result, and I think this pattern mirrors some of what happens in the water boards, the result is we have increasingly inefficient and under-resourced municipal water service providers with huge inefficiencies, losses, and so on. The result is less money for investment in infrastructure and maintenance and perpetuating this cycle of long-term underinvestment. It is this perpetuating negative reinforcing loop that the trading services reform program seeks to turn around so that we have a positive reinforcing loop. Next slide, please. We recognize that the way municipal trading services are provided in municipalities, and this extends beyond metros, is that there are institutional weaknesses that underpin the declining service performance. And that is a split in accountability, where we have an institutional split between the trading services, the technical part of the trading services responsible for asset creation, maintenance, and operation, and then the corporate and financial support services that are fundamental and critical to the sustainable delivery of a trading service. The result is we have lack of financial transparency, we have lack of management accountability, so you cannot hold a manager for a trading service accountable for the performance of that service. Governance failures similarly contribute to a lack of management skills, inefficiencies, and leakages. And collectively, we are seeing low cash revenues as a result of the above, which is further driving this low investment in the infrastructure. Next slide. Treasury has recognized that investing more money without addressing these underlying institutional problems will be highly wasteful of scarce resources. Diagnostics as well as global comparators show that the grants that Treasury provides to the local sphere, particularly in this case, metropolitan municipalities, is significant. More than 50% of the money coming into water services sector comes from grants. And if we look at a comparative country like Colombia, which in some respects is similar socioeconomically and democratically as South Africa, our transfers to the local sphere in South Africa are 2.5 times larger than in Colombia, but we have much poorer outcomes. So we're seeing that we have the existing grants that we transfer are offering very poor value for money. There's poor value for money on the capital spend, there's low investment in maintenance, and poor commercial performance. We're not able to leverage the return on that investment. And the inefficiencies are now greater than the annual capital investment. Next slide, please. It is therefore imperative that we turn around this negative reinforcing loop, and we've recognized that business turnarounds are needed for the water service and the trading services in general in almost all municipalities to stop the decline and improve services. We see 5 conditions that are integral and central to achieve these turnarounds. The first is ensuring that we have a single point of management accountability. We have someone who is fully accountable for the breadth and span of the trading service as a business. And in some cases, we need additional capability to be built in municipalities for this. This is critical to ensure that we can turn around cash revenue. You have a head of a trading service who is responsible for the full revenue value chain, including credit control. They're able to then use credit control as a measure, as well as effective billing and metering, to turn around cash revenue. This is essential because we expect, particularly in metros, our trading services to be generating a financial surplus that is fundamental to invest back in the infrastructure networks. And then we need a fairly clearly defined relationship between the service and the city. Treasury is instituting reforms to achieve full financial transparency for all trading services. So we're wanting to see separately published financial statements for the trading services, as well as a clearly defined financial relationship. These reforms are underway. And then lastly, we need a fit-for-purpose institutional structure that enables management effectiveness and accountability. Next slide. Linked to this, Treasury has recognized that stronger financial incentives are critical to turn around trading services. And obviously, we're talking water and sanitation as part of this picture. Treasury is therefore working with national departments to create a financing incentive to support, firstly, the institutional reform, so that single point of management accountability, turnaround in cash flow, etc., as well as an increased investment that's needed to turn around trading services in metros. The incentive will consist of both technical assistance to support metros, as well as incentive finance that is paid on achievement of reform milestones. So no achievement, no money. And those milestones speak to both institutional reform, improving performance in service delivery, as well as the ability to leverage additional finance from development institutions and banks. Next slide. I won't speak to the slide, but essentially the point here is that the trading services reform agenda very much aligns with the national policy priorities, firstly, obviously, of National Treasury, of the Department of Water and Sanitation. There's strong alignment, as well as for the other trading services sectors in energy, environment, and it's aligned with reforms in Department of Cooperative Governance. There's also very strong alignment with what we've seen of the draft medium-term development plan that government is developing. And fundamentally, this trading services reform seeks to stabilize and strengthen municipal finance, as well as service delivery in metros, because these are the heart and the economic engine of the country. If we have strong metros, we have a stronger national economy. I think that is the last slide that I'm speaking to. Thank you, colleagues.
Thanks, Anthea. Let's go on to Sifiso. Sifiso, if you're online, please, can you just take us swiftly to the slide?
Yes, good evening, Honorable Chairperson, and also Member of Parliament, the Deputy Ministers and colleagues from Treasury and DWS. My name is Sifiso Mabaso. I'll just take you through the current status of what is happening with specifically Vaal Central Water, which is being owed by Mangaung. In the Free State, Chairperson, the Free State government is owing Mangaung 2 billion rand for municipal services. Since this situation has a direct impact on Mangaung's ability to service the debt of Vaal Central Water. But that's not the only problem, but this contributes quite extensively towards the debt of Vaal Central Water. At the current stage, Chairperson, the Vaal Central Water is being owed 606 million. So Mangaung is the biggest client of Vaal Central Water, and this debt is quite the highest in the books of Vaal Central Water with regard to municipality, more specifically. However, there are a few developments that has happened down the line. Like example, currently they do have a payment agreement with the Vaal Central Water. This has taken quite some time to get to this stage, but there is a payment agreement that has been signed by the municipality together with the water board, on which it going to end in December 2029. It's quite some long way to go. Currently, also the minimum that the municipality Mangaung is expected to pay towards Vaal Central to reduce the debt is 35 million as a minimum to deal with the arrears, but also they are servicing the current account. The following figures that shows there on the screen and the dates, it's what the municipality has already paid to date. So they are servicing the debt and also paying the minimum, which is the area account. So by calculation shows that this area account will be settled by December 2029. However, the city has raised few concerns regarding to the relationship or their interaction with the Vaal Central Water. One of the key areas is that there's excessive tariffs that's being charged by Vaal Central Water. They have many meetings that they were trying to resolve this and also reporting to the National Treasury and also Department of Water Affairs. Department of Water and Sanitation, but seems as if this is not moving. One of the key things that they are complaining or their gripe is that in part of the tariff, they've built in a draft, they call it a draft tariff. I think it happened when the area was hit by drought in the past. Then there was this tariff that was introduced, but it has never been lifted to date. So this is also throttling the municipality's finances. So these are the concerns that they've raised. And also there's a level service level agreement that they haven't yet signed together as a today. But the debt and also the figures that the municipality is servicing the debt every month, that is happening, Chairperson, that we can also have, we do have evidence towards that. Thank you, Chairperson. I'll stop here. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thanks, Sipiso. Honorable Chairperson, honorable members, honorable deputy ministers. Last but not least is just an update on the water boards. I know we're close to running out of time. I'm going to be quite swift in just taking you through, over a few issues around the water boards. Firstly, around broadly the key challenges facing the water boards, which is largely around governance, the municipal debt, which has been talked about earlier on, but I think quite concerning is that this debt is, a large part of it, 80%, is close to 120 days. As well as we speak, aging infrastructure, the weak balance sheets, the inadequate, budget for maintenance, and then lastly, political interference and also instability in the municipal leadership. Then moving on just to around the reforms and processes that contribute to the financial sustainability of the water board. So basically, from a treasury perspective, which basically falls, under the assets liability management division, is where we basically, provide, our views or reviews of the bulk water tariffs in terms of Section 42 of the MFMA, and what we basically seeing here, some of the key issues, and we just picked out two of the key issues, is around cost-effective tariffs. Is that the municipalities itself is not basically setting cost-effective tariffs, and the tariffs are quite below what they should be, and then which has a knock-on effect in terms of the financial sustainability of the water board to remain a going concern. And then the next point is just around the capital levy, where we basically have encouraged the water boards to introduce a capital levy to fund infrastructure and the operations and maintenance thereof. So that's basically some of our findings and proposals that we made to the water boards, as part of our consultations and our comments on the bulk water tariff. Then just moving on to, again, reforms, and just in terms of compliance to the PFMA in terms of Section 51 and 54. Here we just want to draw out Section 54 of the PFMA, which is basically significant transactions which have to be informed, where the Minister of Finance must be informed in terms of the Section 54, and that's largely with regards to acquisitions, disposals, joint ventures in terms of the significance thereof. And what we've seen is that we haven't, unfortunately, seen compliance there too largely. I think we just want to draw out the fact that the transfer of the, of Citibank's water board operations to Magalies Water and Vaal Central, both of these water boards do not submit these Section 54 applications to NT. So we just want to ensure that, going forward, that the water boards just comply to these sections of the PFMA. Just around some of the legislative reforms that that we're busy with together with DWS and various stakeholders around the sustainability of the water boards. 3 areas that we're focusing on. It's a pricing strategy. So here, basically, we basically have looked at the revised pricing strategy from 2014. Obviously, there's been a lot of consultations, which basically culminated in the Minister of Finance concurring to the revised pricing strategy on the 31st of May. Then focusing on the next part, which is the norms and standards. Obviously, there is the Water Services Act that provides for the setting of the national norms and standards, and there's been various consultations, as it has been highlighted in this slide or this particular block. But I think the process itself has not yet been concluded, as there are still a number of issues outstanding. So engagements are ongoing as we speak. And then just around the water debt program, just again flagging the municipal debt issue, which is obviously a huge threat, as has been highlighted by the previous presenters. DWS is embarking on a program to write off some of this debt owed to it. And obviously, we then need to agree on some of the criteria and what these municipalities will qualify for in terms of the debt write-off. So again, this process is also ongoing. Moving quickly to the next slide, which, Honorable Chair and members, I don't think this slide was included in the pack, but I think it's quite important just to reflect on some of the options to assist the water boards. And here we're just looking at water debt relief, looking at some of, this is a short to medium, debt relief that we're looking at. Obviously there are some, disadvantages, but just to highlight some of the physical constraints as well. But I think this is quite important just to look at the debt relief, as we mentioned in the previous slide. Then the next options we're looking at is this around the water board and the shareholder or the executive authority as looking at alternative service delivery mechanisms on behalf of the failing municipalities. And obviously the advantage thereof is that the shareholder and the water boards have control of function, quality, and credit control. Obviously there are some certain disadvantages there too, but as we have said, that these processes are ongoing. The third option is looking at collapsing the water boards into the regional departmental DWS functions. The advantage here is that the reduced duplication in administrative and related costs with the separate SOCs. Obviously the disadvantage is obviously we'll need to manage some of the potential skills exits, so that has to be carefully managed. And obviously the last option here to basically assist the water boards is looking at the metros as the alternative service delivery mechanism on behalf of failing municipalities. And obviously the function or the advantage here too is that the function remains within local government and obviously regional water distribution on large scale cost benefit as well. And again, there's also some disadvantages that are mentioned here. Then in summary, I think it's important I won't go through all of them, but I think it's quite important that just based on the presentation that we've outlined to the honorable, members of the committee and the honorable deputy ministers, is that concerns are just around the municipal areas for bulk water and electricity is increasing. Obviously, the ability of local government to collect this revenue is most significant. And obviously the key challenge here, if we look at Eskom, is legally disallowed to assist municipal revenue collection in Eskom supply areas. There's a lack of political will to collect revenue. There's some structural challenges that we need to look at as well. There's work that's underway that will address some of these challenges over the medium to long term. So while it's not short term, there are initiatives that are in place to address this over the medium to long term. And many of these initiatives require legislative changes. So obviously, as I've mentioned, this obviously cannot be done in the short term. It's more in the medium to long term. And then last, in terms of the summary, is just that there's an urgent requirement to restore normal credit control measures by strengthening the integration of systems across government to facilitate and enforce payment for government services. I think this is quite critical. And then the last slide, Honourable Chair, is just for the honourable members of the portfolio committee to note the key challenges impacting municipalities' ability to pay the water boards, ESCOM, and other creditors. Note also the key challenges impacting the financial sustainability and viability of the water boards. And then lastly, the work that's underway to mitigate these challenges, including the Metro Trading Service reform, and that some of these initiatives require legislative changes, as we've highlighted before. Honourable Chair, honourable members, my apologies for going slightly over time, but we hand over back to you and we're ready to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the presentation, Deputy Minister. I'm now going to allow members of the committee to raise their hands so that we could ask the National Treasury some questions. I see Honourable Matlala, you are the first one. Can we stick to 3 questions, please? And then we will do a follow-up if it's necessary. Before I do that, Honourable Matlala, I just see the hand of Dr. Phillips. Can I just find out whether they would also like to make some recommendations before we start with the questioning? Dr. Phillips?
Thank you, Chairperson. We were asked to also prepare a presentation on the same issue, and it might be better to have us to present on the same issue before the questions are asked, because our presentations talk to each other, the Treasury and the DWS presentation, and our presentation might also help to inform the questions. Thank you, Chair.
My apology, Dr. Phillips. Colleagues, let's go that route and afford the opportunity to the department also to make their presentation, and then after that we will ask the questions. Thank you. You can go ahead. Deputy Minister, back to you, Honourable Matlobo.
No, thanks, Chair. Just to indicate that I'm happy that you're allowing Dr. Phillips to present, because as government, we've agreed that the debts that are being owed to municipalities and by municipalities, it has increased very significantly. And in the main, the debt that is being owed to ESCOM, to the water boards, including the Department of Water and Sanitation, because if the water boards are being owed by municipalities, then we do have challenges. There are a number of options that are being on the table to assist municipalities. The DG will talk to them, including the possibility of looking at the regime that was given to ESCOM around the issues of the right of debts that need to be looked at from a case by case. The Minister Chair has been leading engagements with premiers of various provinces. We've met with the Premier of Northern Cape, the Premier of KwaZulu-Natal just on Sunday. We've met with the Premier of Free State and the Premier of Northwest. And in the main, we are trying to engage with the municipalities that one, we will want them to enter into formal agreements with our water boards. There were some of these municipalities have been running away, Chair, and so that at least there is a payment plan. And in instances where there is a payment plan, there has been a defaulting. And the debts that is owed by some of these municipalities is incomprehensible. When you look at what Machabeng is owing and the others, they're owing billions and billions of rands. And but there's been a very good goodwill from the minister, the premiers, to enter into those particular agreements. But the biggest reality is that some of these municipalities are bankrupt. They're bankrupt because of some of the conditions that are on the ground. The entire credit control system, the billing system, they are a biggest challenge, and many of these people are not paying. But there's also a culture of non-payment when it comes to the user pay principle. Therefore, we are very pleased, Chairperson, that you have actually called us, because we also need your support, because these debts are threatening the viability of the sector. You know, Chair, you have worked with us for over years. We cannot have another CDB. We can't have another CDB Water Board. And the liabilities that we transferred from CDB, Water, you know, Chair, it was doing fairly well, relatively well. And then we overburdened them when we brought all these issues of liabilities from that other side, including to a certain extent Magalies Water. And one of the worst things we have is that we don't have money to bail out water boards. As we know that National Treasury is not actually funding a water board. They are actually have to be self-sustainable. But we need to look at other options, because these water boards, if they fail, Chair, they are so important to be allowed to fail. The implications are huge, both for the economy, for the social issues, environment. It can even cause some of our security challenges. Then briefly, we are trying to do certain things, but we need to be able to get all of us into the party. The issues around disputes about bills and so forth, we're not only looking at the question of people just paying, Chair, but we're also looking at the entire billing system, revenue management. But we have actually even decided that we're not going to look at that only now. Even the capacity for these municipalities to do their job. That's why Rand Water, you will see Mfuleni, a municipality that we know that is down and out. That's why we're looking even at implementation model, so that we cannot collapse the service. Let's allow then briefly DG Phillips, as we have circulated our own presentation, because there is a correlation what DG is working on with National Treasury to find a solution. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. DG, can I quickly just see Honourable Ditebe's got his hand up, whether there's something he needs clarity on. Honourable Ditebe? You are unmuted.
Chairperson, I raised my hand when you invited us to do so, just before you allowed Dr. Phillips to do so. So I'll come at the right time. Thank you.
100%. Thank you. DG, you are welcome to continue now with your presentation.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Can I just allow the host is now allowing me to share. So let me try and share. Can you see the presentation, Chairperson?
We saw it. It's back now again. Yeah, we can see it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let me try and put it on.
As long as you can put it on slideshow, that will, so that it doesn't look busy. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Is that better?
No, it's still not on slideshow, but you can. There you go. You can go. Continue now.
Okay, let me just try and fix it here quickly. Okay, thank you, Chairperson. So as we've indicated previously to the Portfolio Committee, we've grouped our water boards into 4 different groups with regard to their municipal debt. The first group is the water boards facing imminent bankruptcy, which is Vaal Central and Magalies Water. The second group is water boards experiencing cash flow challenges but not facing imminent bankruptcy, which is Amatola Water and Lepeli Northern Water. The third group is water boards experiencing declining payment levels, which is Rand Water and Umgeni Utugela. And the fourth group is water boards that do not have any area debt owed by municipalities. Chairperson, in the interest of time, I want to suggest that I focus on the first group, because that's the group that we're really worried about. There are two water boards, Vaal Central and Magalies, which based on current trajectories will go bankrupt within the next 6 to 12 months. This slide just gives the overall picture, which you've seen before, of the debt. So I'll skip the slides on the other water boards which are not facing imminent bankruptcy, and go straight to Vaal Central and Magalies Water. So the Treasury presentation highlighted Mangaung, but actually, as I previously presented to Treasury, Mangaung is not our big worry with regard to Vaal Central. As correctly indicated by Safiso from National Treasury, Mangaung has signed a payment agreement with the Water Board, and Mangaung is so far adhering to that payment agreement. The two municipalities which we're worried about with regard to Vaal Central is Machabeng and Kopanong, because they're not currently paying their current invoices. So this slide we showed before to the Portfolio Committee, it shows that by April 2025, Vaal Central will go bankrupt on their current trajectories, and that's considering that it stops all other expenditure except for salaries, electricities, and chemicals between now and then. So the 5 municipalities, as you could see from that table that I put up just now, which owe Vaal Central the most money, is Machabeng, which owes Vaal Central more than 6 billion, Kopanong, Mangaung, Nala, and Namakoi. But the two that we are most worried about is Machabeng and Kopanong. Since the Minister Majudina started in August, she's been engaging with all those municipalities and their premiers, relevant premiers and MECs for both Magalies Water and Vaal Central. And most of the municipalities have committed to paying their current invoices in full, except in the case of Vaal Central, Machabeng and Kopanong, which in those meetings openly indicated to the minister that they cannot commit to paying their current invoices. And just these two municipalities, Machabeng and Kopanong, leaving aside all the other municipalities, if they don't start paying their current invoices, let alone the historic debt, if they don't start paying their current invoices in full, it will result in Vaal Central going bankrupt within the next 6 to 12 months. So Machabeng is only currently paying between 15 and 20% of its 70 million rand a month water bill to Vaal Central Water. Vaal Central Water has taken all the possible actions that it can to in terms of credit control to get payment, but it's not working, and the debt recovery measures by the Water Board to date have been unsuccessful. Turning to Magalies Water, the two municipalities that we're most worried about are Makasi Hills and Thabazimbi. Similarly, most of these municipalities have agreed with the minister to pay their current invoices in full, but these two municipalities are not paying their current invoices in full. They're only partially paying them. And similarly with Magalies Water, based on the current trajectories, if Magalies Water just limits all its expenditure to salaries, electricity, and chemicals, it will also go bankrupt by about June 2025, unless these two municipalities in particular, Makasi Hills and Thabazimbi, start paying their current invoices in full. So with Makasi Hills, a payment agreement was entered into between the Water Board and the municipality, but the municipality has not honored this agreement. It is only partially paying its current account. And Thabazimbi local municipality similarly entered into a payment agreement with the Water Board, but has not honored that agreement and is only partially paying its current account. So the same situation exists with Magalies Water, that if these two municipalities, Makasi Hills and Thabazimbi, don't start paying their current invoices to Magalies Water in full, then Magalies Water will also go bankrupt, even if all the other municipalities start paying their current invoices in full. The reason for this, in the case of both water boards, are that both of these, all four of these municipalities, Makasi Hills, Thabazimbi, Kopanong, and Machabeng, all of four of them are major clients or customers of these two water boards. And if you're a water board, you don't get any subsidies from government, you don't get any operational subsidies. If in both cases, two of your major clients are not paying their invoices every month, it means that you are going to go and get into very serious financial difficulty very quickly. So what measures, we were asked by the Portfolio Committee to say what measures are being taken. Firstly, Chairperson, I'd like to say that we agree with almost everything in the Treasury presentation, and we agree with Treasury that we are very much aligned on the reform initiatives, and we appreciate the measures that Treasury is putting in place in terms of reform of trading services at municipal level, and we fully support those. But our immediate concern is for these two water boards. As I indicated in the presentation, it's not all municipalities which are not paying, but if a water board goes bankrupt and stop functioning, it will obviously stop providing water to all its municipal customers, not just the ones that are not paying. So these two water boards provide water to municipalities in the Northern Cape, Free State and Northwest, which means that all the municipalities in those three provinces will stop getting treated water if and when these two water boards go bankrupt. Both water boards have already reduced some of their necessary operational expenditure. For example, both of them have stopped paying DWS for the raw water that they're supposed to buy from us. And that threatens the financial viability of the whole water sector, including the financial viability of the National Water Resource Infrastructure Agency, which we are starting to establish now that the act has been passed. What is likely to happen as these two water boards go into bankruptcy is that there won't be an immediate cessation of services, but there'll be a rapid decline in services over a period of several months as the water boards increasingly stop being able to pay their workers and their workers start refusing to work, and because they stop being able to purchase chemicals to treat the water or to pay their electricity bills to pump the water. In addition, both water boards have already cut back significantly on maintenance, which means that the state of their infrastructure is deteriorating, which means in turn that the service will deteriorate. So what are the implications of all of this for the budget of DWS and the fiscus? These are very complex, very difficult issues, Chairperson, for government as a whole to deal with, because if these two water boards go into the red or go bankrupt and they require subsidies, if the municipalities don't start paying on a regular basis their current invoices, particularly these 4 municipalities, then we would have to keep subsidizing the water boards on an ongoing basis. It won't be a once-off bailout. And if the payment rates of the municipalities continue to deteriorate, the monthly subsidy required from DWS will increase. Now, the problem is, as I indicated earlier in the presentation, and as we've indicated in previous presentations to the Portfolio Committee, there's a general trend of reducing payments by municipalities to all the water boards in the other categories as well. So what is going to happen if we start permanently subsidizing these two water boards is that the other water boards will also expect to be subsidized due to non-payment by other municipalities. And if there's no money in the fiscus for National Treasury to give us an allocation, a permanent budget allocation to subsidize the water boards, it means that the only place we will find that money is from within the current budget of DWS, which means we'll have to cut expenditure from elsewhere. And the most likely place where we'll have to cut, where there's a substantial budget, which is not going to things like personnel expenditure, which we can't cut, will be the grant allocations to municipalities for water and sanitation infrastructure projects, which means that municipalities will also suffer because they'll be getting less grants if we have to take some of that money and use it to subsidize water boards, if we get National Treasury permission to do that. The other major challenge with this kind of approach is that if we start subsidizing the water boards, that will send a message to municipalities that they will still be provided with treated water even if they don't pay their water bills. And that is a very serious step to take as government as a whole, because it means that if we take that step, and municipalities start understanding that they don't need to pay their water bills because the water boards will be subsidized by government, it means that the whole principle that the water sector is self-financing and that water must be paid for by people who can afford it will be compromised. And it will mean that we'll increasingly have to fund the provision of water from the fiscus, which has enormous implications for the fiscus. It would probably have to necessitate an increase in income tax or VAT to be able to fund that at scale. So we've had numerous meetings with National Treasury where we've discussed this problem. The first thing that we did is we established that the problem is not caused by weak credit control measures on behalf of DWS or the water boards. About a year ago, we went through a process of consultation with Treasury and all the municipalities and the water boards, which resulted in us developing standardized debt collection processes between all of us, including National Treasury agreeing that on request of DWS, they could withhold equitable share allocations to municipalities not paying their current invoices, and that there should be consistent enforcement of water restrictions on non-paying municipalities and consistent legal processes to get municipalities to pay. So those standard operating procedures for credit control and debt collection were adopted by DWS and the water boards in 2023. National Treasury mentioned that they're finalizing a debt write-off mechanism. We've been working with National Treasury on that, following what we saw about the municipal electricity debt write-off mechanism that was put in place by National Treasury. The key point to note here, Chairperson and honourable members, is that this debt write-off mechanism, on the insistence of National Treasury, will only be allowed to be applied to municipalities which are paying their current invoices in full. So the debt write-off mechanism will not help us with the problem of the current 4 municipalities which are threatening the financial sustainability of these 2 water boards, because these 4 municipalities are not paying their current invoices in full. The main condition on this debt write-off mechanism will be that all debt can be written off on condition that the municipalities establish a track record of paying their current invoices in full. The other measure that we've taken is we've written to National Treasury asking for permission to reprioritize our current budget to give some money to these 2 water boards to prevent them from going bankrupt. But we could only identify 50 million rand in our budget, which would only delay the bankruptcy of these water boards for a month or 2. The other possible option is that we could get permission from National Treasury to redirect the infrastructure grant allocations, as I mentioned, that would normally be made to these non-paying municipalities, and rather have those infrastructure grant allocations be paid to the water boards in lieu of them not paying their water bills. The problem here, Chairperson, is as a result of our efforts to reduce our expenditure on the infrastructure grants, we have very little room to do that because our infrastructure grants are fully committed, and we've been agreeing with municipalities that they should enter into multi-year contracts in the interest of improved spending of their infrastructure grants. So these measures that we've considered and discussed with National Treasury don't seem to have any immediate solution to the urgent current challenge that we have of the probability that these 2 water boards will go bankrupt within the next 6 to 12 months unless something different is done. And that's something different that needs to be done is to find some way of ensuring that these 4 municipalities start paying their current invoices in full. As I've indicated, Chairperson, we've done what we can as DWS. We've implemented draconian credit control measures. The water boards have implemented draconian credit control measures, including taking legal action against these municipalities. But they are still not paying their current invoices. And Matjhabeng and Kopanong in particular are saying openly that they can't and won't pay their current invoices. So we do need the assistance of National Treasury and COGTA urgently to try and find a solution for these 4 municipalities if we're going to avoid the consequences of these 2 water boards going bankrupt in the next 6 to 12 months. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your presentation. It is worrying what we are seeing at the moment. I am going to ask now members to raise their hands so that we could ask questions. I just want to make one correction there, DG, that Magalies also supplies water to Limpopo, and in some instances they also supply water to Gauteng in Tshwane. So that even creates a bigger problem that if they go bankrupt, it's a much larger area. Bella and going up to the north, they also receive water from Magalies Water. Can I get members to indicate whether they would like to ask some questions? I've got Honourable Moore. Honourable Moore, you're welcome to start.
Thank you, Chairperson. I was going to wait for Honourable Magala because she was originally first, but I'm happy to go. I'm really grateful for this engagement because it feels like this has been a long time coming, and the actions that were needed to prevent this crisis that's hitting our water boards. And whilst we're currently talking about the two key water boards, the other water boards are all following along as we face the challenge of municipal failure. Action should have been taken, I want to say months ago, but realistically, Chairperson, years ago. And to emphasize, I suppose the key challenge that, as I see it, is that this isn't a problem that the Department of Water and Sanitation should be looking for a solution to, because the problem isn't with the water boards, although there are problems at the water boards. It isn't with the department, although obviously there are always going to be challenges with the department. The challenge is that our municipalities are not run in a sustainable manner. And because they aren't run in a sustainable manner, they are likely to collapse all the services that are upstream of them. And you can see that this isn't just from the water perspective, because the presentation we saw is clearly a repurposed Eskom electricity presentation, which I don't fault the department for doing, but it is clearly a repurposed electricity presentation. And I think people have been so busy worrying about electricity because of load shedding, they're coming to the water party late. But the problem is that whilst technologies can save us in terms of electricity, with regards to solar or various solutions, with regards to water, these type of problems are going to be extremely difficult to turn around once the systems start falling apart. In fact, the longer systems like this happen, we're polluting our water sources, we're damaging our groundwater. It's going to be harder and harder to turn around. So I suppose from my perspective, the core issue isn't so much for our water board's sake, it's to go to the Department of Water and Sanitation, not the Department of Water and Sanitation. I'm really pleased actually with to our DM on the DWS side. I want to say thank you for your comments, and to the DG for the vehemence with which you're approaching this, because this is very serious and we need National Treasury to take this very seriously. So from my side, at the moment, the bucket with which we pour our water in is leaking. Municipalities lose between 25% and 60% of water, depending on which municipality we're talking about. I know we're focused on the municipalities affected by those two water boards, but eThekwini's non-revenue water is over 50%, which means in terms of trying to create a price structure for them to manage their water, they almost have to charge double the amount of water they pay because of the amount of water they lose. Machabeng is never going to be able to repay that amount of water. And it's not up for the DWS to figure out how we rescue Machabeng, but there needs to be something provided on the table that rescues Machabeng in a manner that rescues Vaal Central. Because again, Vaal Central is in this trouble, Kuseda was in this trouble. So from our side, it's to going, what immediate cash solutions are available from National Treasury, because a lot of the interventions are very clever technical solutions that could assist us down the line. And as the DG has said, we're really looking for something a little more concrete and a little more immediate in order to avoid the collapse of these entities and the continued systemic collapse of the area. I'd also like to just emphasize one other thing. Is there a possibility of us relooking at the MFMA around ring fencing of money for services? I understand National Treasury has a exercise on this, but one of the key problems is that municipalities treat water revenue as a cash cow. I've worked with metropolitan municipalities before, and that is literally the word that has been historically used, is water and electricity are the cash cow of the municipality, used to fund all of the non-funded mandates of the municipality. Is there a way to ring fence the revenues of the municipality until not just they've covered their bulk purchases, but also that they have put aside a sufficient amount of money for their maintenance and project upgrades, and only additional revenues above and beyond all of that go into the general fiscus? I understand that's quite a major change to the MFMA, but at the moment, the reality is our current system has been tested and it has failed. And so at a systemic level, our municipal finance needs to change to allow for a sustainable finance around our services. And again, the key principle I'd like to say here is the system doesn't need to work when you've got a good municipal government, a good council that is focused on the municipal issues. It needs to work when you have a bad municipal manager, when you have a bad council who wants to spend the money on other things. We need to have a system that forces the money into where it needs to go first, and the extras are what they can play with. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Deputy Minister Siripin, would you like to start answering the questions?
Yes, Chairperson, I would like to start answering the questions. Don't mind the dogs barking in the background. Chairperson, I think I do want to start by saying that with regards to the role of National Treasury in municipalities, we are constrained very much by Section 139 of the Constitution and Section 154. And in terms of Section 139, the biggest challenge we have is that we can only step in when things reach total collapse. And 1395. So effectively, the provinces first have to step in and do an intervention, and then only can we step in terms of 1395. So it is a challenge, and the warning signs when you have these kinds of collapses that we're seeing with municipalities and their payments are there all along the way, but our ability to intervene is highly constrained because of the way things are written in law. And that is an unfortunate reality. In terms of some of the more technical points raised by Mr. Moore, Honourable Moore, I will hand to the team, particularly in the MFMA and so on, and what is going on there. So if I can hand to the Treasury team, that would be great. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Treasury?
Chair, this is Ravesh Rajlal. I'm just gonna hand over to my team. I don't know if Marlee wants to come in on this from her perspective, dealing with municipal, matters from your side, Marlee. Anything?
Thank you, Ravesh. I think we already have a project underway where we are looking at how we ring fence, particularly water and electricity. And I think it's not disallowed by the MFMA, but how it's enforced. So we've already put in place our municipal standard chart of accounts and a lot of our reporting formats to facilitate that. So we are pretty much advanced towards achieving that ring fencing. But at the end of the day, it still depends on the actual municipality enforcing these requirements and the related failures there. So yes, I think I'm going to park there. I think it's also important just for members to note, even if we just look at these two services, I don't think they are really cash cows anymore. If you look at the start of our presentation with the structural challenges, particularly in both electricity and water, and even where we sit, if we look at the other services, they are not isolated and they impact each other. And where previously maybe it could have been said that it's true that water and electricity are cash cows, I think over the past few years, just with the exorbitant electricity and even on bulk water tariff increases, that has been eroded. And that's part of our current challenge that we are facing. So we need to look at a solution that integrates all services and not just looking at these two, because otherwise we're going to just be cross-subsidizing. But it is possible, and there is some work underway towards ring fencing these. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Back to you.
Yeah, can I maybe just, before I give my next colleague a chance, to agree with Marley that says that it's no longer a cash cow, they don't make profit. But what is happening at the moment, the income they get, they utilize that not for paying water, but to fund other projects. And I think that is something that we need to stop and look at manners in how we can do that. I was thinking of whether you go for these new
The network for the chairperson is so unstable.
lost signal here in Acacia Park. Can I ask Honorable Ditebe to ask his question? I'll come back with the question that I've asked. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Chairperson, the presentation that the DG made of water and sanitation, that is, about the dire state facing the two water boards, Magalies and Vaal Central. This point has been made before, namely that in respect of the Vaal Central, municipalities such as Kopanong and Machabeng will not commit to paying their invoices. Now, based on the information that we have now, and have heard this in the past, from the DM and the minister, that there have been engagements with premiers of various provinces, and that includes the Free State. Has there been any change in attitude on the part of the two municipalities in the main? I do realize that there's also another municipality, Nala, which is not very far from my own municipality, Machabeng, and I know that it is perhaps, of course, of the three, Kopanong, I think you will know that it is that municipality where the tailings dam failed on the 11th of September 2022. Now, has there been any change in attitude? Has the needle begun pointing northwards? What's happening? Now, the other issue, of course, Chairperson, I think I'll come to as soon as we have an answer to this one. Thanks.
Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, with regards to the broad approach to municipalities and their attitude towards Treasury, I do want to say, in response to the Honourable Member, that we issue notes, we issue from the IGR unit in Treasury on things like MSCOA and compliance to see how they are dealing with revenue collection and so on. What we find in a lot of municipalities, especially the Free State municipalities where they have such bad adverse audit outcomes, is they're non-compliant with our standard charter of accounts, and they don't take our advice. They will appoint service providers who put in financial management systems that are non-compliant, regardless of the Treasury telling them not to. And this is an across-the-board problem. So we have set up an interministerial committee with COGTA at the moment to look at the audit outcomes from the AG this year on these sorts of things, which is including non-payment to water boards and ESCOM and all sorts of other issues that were flagged by the AG, which are repeatedly flagged, to try to get a coordinated approach between the two departments to deal with some of these delinquent municipalities. And just to make the point that across the Free State, every single one of these municipalities have adverse audit outcomes. So with that, Chair, let me also ask the Treasury team then to speak to the specifics about those 4 municipalities and the engagements. Thanks.
National Treasury.
Yeah, thanks, DM. Thanks, Chair. I'm just checking with Marley again if she wants to come in. Thank you.
Thank you, Ravesh. I think just to add, last week we had an engagement with our Free State Provincial Treasury on the ESCOM debt relief, and just to note, particularly if we look at Machapeng, I mean they're one of the top 14 ESCOM defaulters, and our analysis just shows also of their current. Looking at the debtors and creditors and the longer term sustainability, that it's also impossible for them to repay even despite the existing debt relief. Makwasi Hills and Nala, some of these are also on there. I think what was extremely concerning from our engagement last week was coming out strong that I think the extent of almost organizational dysfunctionality have just reached the proportion where there's not, we can put as much as board as we like to, but it's the ability and the will to onboard that is very little. And particularly if we look at the likes of Machapeng, we've heard again last week that despite the conditions of the ESCOM debt relief, these municipalities continue to approve tariffs even after the administrations put to them the dire situation. They put forward tariffs and they simply decide that they cannot charge communities for water. So we still see flat water charges of 35 Rand per household. And I think that's part of the problem where what we're being faced. So our Minister of Finance previously did institute, if you look at Machapeng particularly, it's not under intervention currently. For all these top defaulters and debt relief participants, our minister has previously initiated with the provinces to institute the relevant modes of interventions, but progress has been very slow, particularly in the Free State and some other provinces. So obviously we would only, from a national intervention side, step in if the province failing, but these are very slow. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I am a little bit concerned before I give the DG the opportunity. I'm a little bit concerned that it seems that we are passing the buck from one side to the other side. Water security in this country is under risk, and we can no longer just talk to these municipalities. We need to take action against these municipalities. National Treasury runs the finance of this country, and there's equitable share. And I know there's a lot of legal issues why equitable share cannot be used. But I'm telling you, we're going to be in a crisis in the country if these 2 water boards, and those are not just the 2 water boards, other water boards will follow. If we do not take action and stop talking to the premiers of the provinces and municipalities we can't take the money and secure our water boards. We are just having a nice evening tonight and throwing away around ideas. It's not going to assist the water boards, and it's not going to assist us in getting our water security secured. Deputy Minister, that is my opinion on this. I really want us to come up with solutions that you would say, but this is what we are going to do. It's not what we can do. We are looking at this. We are talking about 6 months away. We're going to have 2 water boards that would give water to 7, 8, 9 million people that will collapse. And if the Department of Water and Sanitation has got to bail them out, we've heard what will happen. Other municipalities will also stop to pay. So, Minister, please come up with a solution. If you can't do it now, I would understand. But I think it is time for us now to take action and no longer speak about the problem that we have. It's not going to resolve the problem. I see you would like to have something on that, Deputy Minister Sirpan.
Yes, Chairperson, I think the point is very well taken from yourself, that there does need to be an immediate solution. Of course, the bailout solution, Chairperson, as we've seen, just creates, and it's not just in water boards, and every SOE creates the moral hazard problem where things continue to stay as they are, and they just take more bailout money. So the solution, and I will ask the Intergovernmental Relations team on my next meeting with them to look at this very, very closely and make sure that we do investigate solutions. Just with the ALM team, so I'll ask the team here to make a note as well as to what we can do in the immediate term. However, as I said, Chair, the biggest constraint on National Treasury is that because of Section 139 of the Constitution, we're dependent on provincial treasuries, and provincial treasuries are not stepping up. And Chair, maybe from your side, you could help us with something. It is, in some of these cases, to call the provincial treasuries to the committee about several things. In the Free State, why does the Free State provincial government owe 2 billion rand to Mangaung municipality and so on, which would settle a lot of debt immediately on some of these water boards? And what we are finding also is that provincial treasuries, who are the first intervention level before we can intervene, are not stepping up. And I would ask that we will do our bit, but if you can help us by summoning some of the provincial treasuries and lighting a fire under them, we'd be most grateful. Thank you.
We will do that. We'll do that, and we'll even invite you with them in the same meeting so that they don't pass the buck back to you. DG, would you like to add something before I go to the next member?
Thank you. I think Honourable Ditebe's question partly needs to be answered by DWS as to whether the meetings between the Minister and the Premier and the Mayors have had any change. Honourable Ditebe, NALA in the meetings did commit to paying its current invoices in full. We'll have to see if they do manage to do that. But Machabeng and Kopanong did not. And they indicated to the Minister that they can't and will not be able to pay their current invoices. So there hasn't been any change from Machabeng and Kopanong, which are the 2 that we're really worried about. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honourable Ditebe, you mentioned that there was a follow-up question that you would like to ask.
Yes, Chair. In the slide on Mangaung, for example, the Treasury says that the amount of money that the Water Board charges Mangaung is too exorbitant, and the city is unhappy about that. Now, it seems to me, if you look at the figure, Mangaung is just slightly under 1 billion rand. They are paying 35 million rand and also paying their current account. That is the arrears amount, 35 million rand, and their current account. Now, my attitude would be, do not kill the goose that lays the golden egg. Now, between the DWS and Vaal Central, is there a way of resolving that so that Mangaung is incentivized? Unlike other municipalities, mention is made here of Machabeng and Kopano, so that they can then continue to pay. As you've heard, the metros contribute significantly to job creation and to GDP. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Deputy Minister Matlobo, would you like to answer that question? I believe that is falls under the ministry, the water boards.
You know what, Chairperson, my suggestion is that, like I said in my remarks, the matter of water boards is too much of a serious matter that they can be allowed to fail, like you were saying. I know that now there is an interministerial committee. We discussed it in the joint cabinet committees led by the Minister of Copter, and all of us were there in that interministerial committee, the state of local government. But these matters, Chair, you will remember they've been on the table for some time, including Salka, who refused top slicing. Because remember, it was one of the options on the table. Secondly, ESCOM was given a special dispensation, if you remember. And in certain instances, we allowed the water boards to tighten the issues of credit control. They attached the accounts, Chair, if you recall. We've proposed ring fencing, that the money for electricity and water sales must be ring fenced, which is a decision that a directive can be given that it can be ring fenced. So it cannot be used and abused, Chair, for what we call for miscellaneous. Our view as a Minister of Water and Sanitation, Chair, under your guidance, I think probably there is a need to convene a meeting of a joint committee with the Copter Portfolio Committee called by yourselves, the Minister of Copter to be here, the Minister of Finance to be here, and ourselves to be here. Because at the end of the day, these matters were bringing them to your attention because they worry us. They've been discussed over a number of years, and at certain instances, these municipalities, they will not be in a position to, if we don't enforce certain discipline and take certain decisions. The question, Honorable Ditewe, that you are raising about Mangaung, there is a good engagement with them, and we must congratulate the new mayor, the chairperson. The new mayor is very responsible. Mangaung, at a particular point, they were refusing to pay Bloom Water. And some of us were to intervene, even around some of the issues around the tariffs. The matter that is written by National Treasury of Tariffs, we are going to assign our Director General. He will work with Mangaung Metro and the Vaal Central Chair. We will come back to you to report as our portfolio committee as part of your oversight. How have we ring-fenced that particular matter? But they should enter into an agreement, because if there is no agreement, there is no certainty around some of those particular issues. And we fully agree with the Deputy Minister of Finance. Where municipalities are owed, they must be paid. But they too, they must honor what is due to their creditors. That is our attitude, Chairperson. But our strong view as a Minister of Water, like you've been able to lead the sector over years, unless the 3 minutes, probably we might even invite Salka, Chairperson, and these affected ones, because their lack of cooperation, the impact is beyond these municipalities, Chair. We are absolutely correct. It will affect Tshwane. And when Tshwane is affected, Chair, it will affect Mpumalanga. Tshwane is also giving water to Mpumalanga. And it will affect the other economies in the Northwest, both mining and also issues of agriculture. That will be our firm view as a Minister of Water and Sanitation, in as much as we're also sitting in the Interministerial Committee around the issue of local government. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would like to, Honourable, my hand was twice and is on. Are you covered, or would you like a question afford you the opportunity to do before I go to Honourable Matlala? You are muted.
No, Chairperson, thanks so
Honourable
much.
members.
You were,
Okay, there you can go.
yeah, you were cutting off, so I couldn't hear what you are saying. So,
So, do you still want to ask a question? Your hand was up twice. I would afford you the opportunity to do that now.
yes, Chairperson, I raised my hand to raise a question, and I think it's my turn now. I was just waiting for Honourable Ditebe to finalize his follow-up question, and then I come. Chairperson, you know, I know very well that my language today, because I don't think this system have flexibility in terms of expressing myself into my own language, so that the people out there can hear and understand exactly what we stand for and what we are here to do. Chairperson, to simply and resolve this issue, we need to address why payments are not being made. Let's just simplify this matter. Why are the people not paying? Why payments are not made? The current user pay principle, I don't think is working because communities are not paying, to be honest. How can we resolve the situation? Can we consult with the National Treasury about potentially maybe write off existing debts and start afresh? I'm going to give you an example, Chairperson. I've encountered in one of the community in Tshwane that had its water cut off. When they approached the municipality to arrange for payment, they were told that they must first pay a significant percentage of their debt before they could resume regular payments. That is where the problems start. The communities are not paying because of that, and that affect municipalities. Municipalities affect water boards. So there is a community wanting to pay their debts, but they can't pay because you are owing 50,000. You must pay 30% of the 50,000 before you can start with your regular payment. Hence, we are saying if that is the case, because the system is going to be dire and that will cause problem across the whole country, why we don't write off debts? So I'm asking maybe the National Treasury to come back, maybe write off debt, start afresh, and see if people are not going to pay, and bring all those principles that we are talking about, credit principle and everything, and see if people are not going to pay. Secondly, Chairperson, that question is directed also to the National Treasury. Given the alarming trend of increasing municipal areas for bulk water and electricity, and the evident inability of local government to collect revenue effectively, largely due to structural inefficiencies and a lack of political will, what concrete and immediate actions will the National Treasury implement to enforce stricter fiscal discipline and ensure accountability at the municipal level, especially considering that the current legislative framework appears inadequate to address these persistent issues? Chair, with the acknowledgement that many water boards are facing severe financial sustainability challenges due to factors such as high municipal debts, aging infrastructure, and political interference, what specific reforms and measures is the National Treasury planning to undertake to not only support these water boards, but also guarantee that they can operate as viable entities capable of delivering essential services without relying on perpetual bailouts on inadequate finding. Chairperson, this question is going to the Department of Water and Sanitation about the 50 million. The department indicates that they could only identify 50 million to reprioritize for bailing out the water boards. Why is insufficient? I mean, which is insufficient? Why has the department not allocated more resources or sought additional funding to address this urgent crisis? I heard the DG saying that if you bail out these water boards, the problem is all of them are no longer going to pay. But what is the solution? Because if we don't try to deal with this situation, we'll end up being in a dire state. And at the end of the day, this country will collapse under our hands. There must be something that we must do as the department. There must be something that we can do to save this country. And lastly, Chair, is about what about rural areas, in rural areas where people are, majority, the traditional and the tribal areas resist payment, given that many municipalities do not collect enough revenue to pay water boards and ESCOM? What specific steps will the National Treasury take to enforce credit control measures across all municipalities, especially in traditional and tribal areas that resist payment? And let me give you an example. Majority of the people in rural areas, they don't afford Chair. So they can't pay anything. There was a community in KZN which the municipality have installed the meter reading there for them to pay water services. You go to that area, they called us as some of the councillors by that time. You go to the areas, you can see the level of poverty in that traditional jurisdiction. So now the municipality have placed this thing for them to pay. Obviously, additional charges will incur and debts will grow because they can't afford to pay any debt or any water bill, as simple as I can say that. Thank you, Chairperson. Looking forward to the responses. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Deputy Minister Siripin, before you answer those questions, I really would like to request National Treasury to return to this Portfolio Committee in a very short time with clarity and focus on the problem that imminent collapse of the Vaal Central and Magalies water boards, where you need to also discuss this with with COCTAN nationally, and then also with Water and Sanitation to present to us an integrated response within a very, very, very tight deadline frame. So if I request you, would we, when Parliament opens after the recess, we would like to invite you back with a plan on water and sanitation. Would that be sufficient time for you, 3 weeks, to come up with this tight deadline plan for these two water boards? Because I think the country is not realizing what crisis we will be in if these water boards collapse, and what magnitude of problems that would create for the economy of this country. Over to you, Deputy Minister.
Chairperson, I think that you've given us our marching orders, and yes, indeed. I think that I'll just ask the team. So, Ravesh, if you could please be sure to make a note of the request from the chairperson, and if we can liaise with the DDG for IGR and Jan at IGR as well on this matter, and the request from the chairperson, and let's get working on that. So I've already, Chair, as you can see, just asked the team to get cracking. Chairperson, with regards to the questions that were posed from the honourable member on National Treasury and what we can do in terms of credit control and so on, National Treasury is not a substitute municipality. We are a small team. We're a very small government department. We're just over 1,000 employees. We can't physically go and collect revenue. What we do is send teams, and we have a municipal support program to go and help municipalities resolve their management issues so that they can go and collect. And we do that, and provincial treasuries are part of the process to do that, so that they do go and collect revenues. But ultimately, the councils have to pass rational tariffs. If a council passes a flat rate of 35 Rand for water, and they're not going to recover their services, that we cannot override the decision of the municipal council unless they're placed under administration formally, and in terms of Section 139, and the council is dissolved. Under those circumstances, we can do so. That will require a decision of a provincial executive committee. Under those circumstances, a team is an administrator is appointed, and then these things can be reviewed. So that's the first point I want to make. We can't physically go and collect revenue from residents on behalf of a municipality. There's no constitutional mechanism for us to do that right now. But we can do, and we do all of our interventions. We monitor and we put the reports together as we have put for you today, and we apply the pressure that we can within the constraints that we have. Now, that being said, on the proposal around debt relief and starting over, that is what we try to do with the Eskom debt relief program at the Treasury. And what we have seen is high levels of non-compliance. So largely the debt relief programs say to municipalities, if you start making your current payments, as you've heard from the team, if you just pay the invoices you're getting month to month right now and do so for a sustained period of time, the Treasury will find the money to cover your historic debts. And with the exception of the Randwest municipality in Gauteng, Chairperson, on the Eskom debt relief program, municipalities are beginning to default. And we'll have the same situation with the water boards because they treat it as free money and presume that they can continue to mismanage their finances, mismanage their staff. And then with the new fiscal space, Chair, we have this other problem. When you start just bailing out, they start fresh, they don't go and start paying their bills. What municipalities end up doing is increasing their staff component. They're already bloated. Part of the reason they're in this fiscal problem is because they have far bigger staff components than they're supposed to have. And their salary bill is far too big for the size of the municipality. And so they can't pay their bills because they've got to pay salaries first. And then you create more fiscal space, and what do? They go and hire more staff. And we see this even where we've put municipalities under financial recovery plans. And even in the Mangaung Metro, where we've now got a good mayor and things are beginning to move in a better direction, we still see them trying to create a metro police service while they still have a lot of debt that they owe to all sorts of other institutions. So we're seeing this creation when the moment they have fiscal space of all sorts of new personnel pressures that they cannot afford rather than just paying the bills that they already have. And that is the challenge that we are dealing with municipalities and working with interventions. But Chairperson, we've taken our marching orders as well from the committee accordingly. I will now hand to the team to answer the rest of the members' questions on the technical side. If I can hand to the Treasury team, please.
Okay, thank you, DM. Thanks, Honourable Chair. I'm just checking with Magalies and Dudu if they want to come in on any of the questions. Magalies, Dudu.
Thank you. Ravish, I think our Honourable Deputy Minister has actually put it quite nicely. If you look at the Constitution and the package of local government legislation, then municipality is an independent sphere. It's not under the National Treasury. So council's got that ultimate authority, and the first instance of resolving their financial problems lies with that council. So if you look at the existing legislative framework, it's actually very difficult to intervene and to intervene fast, and that's something that needs to be looked at in the review of the legislation to maybe allow where we see persistent failures and poor council decisions to allow Treasury to intervene. I think also just on some of the earlier notice, it's not really the provincial treasury that can intervene, it's provincial government. So the Premier and those MECs jointly needs to take that decision, and they would need to be called to this committee to come and actually answer why they are not intervening, despite these challenges being there so persistent. What we've seen from our experience in the Eskom debt relief, and particularly Eskom themselves, if you look at the Soweto debt crisis, is that if we simply write off debt, there's no reason why consumers will just start paying afresh. So what would be very important is to maybe look at how we phase in a debt write-off together, if that is the preferred solution, how to phase that in together with a prepaid solution at the same time, so that if we write off a consumer's debt, we should only agree to that if the consumer at the same time then goes onto a prepaid system, so that we don't start afresh. Because if we look at a municipal household, competing priorities, unfortunately, paying for services is last on the list. Food and school fees and those things goes at the top. So I think that's quite critical. I think also Sifiso could maybe come in, particularly from his experience in his municipalities and provinces he's overseen, and to let me spark there. Thank you.
All right. No, thanks, Marley, and also Chairperson. I think also that we need to consider. I know now we're focusing only on the water board and the sector water, but I think broadly in government, experience has shown over and over and over again that because all these matters are interconnected, government departments and also national province that are owning municipalities also put an added pressure to the municipal finances. Hence, we see this picture that we are currently discussing. I think also, Chairperson, if it's able to the committee to maybe liaise also with the committee that deals with government properties, meaning the one that for the Department of Public Works. Perhaps it can be a joint committee between the two committees, and then we have also government departments to account to say why they are not paying when they are going to pay the municipalities. Because this problem is quite a double-edged sword. Example, the Chairperson, as the slide you already shared information with the committee. Free State government, it's owing quite a substantial amount of money to Mangaung as a metro. So it's quite a huge amount of money. Also, that should also bring relief to those municipalities that are being owed. But also part of the problems that that is manifesting, that has come to this, manifested into this problem that we're discussing tonight, is that the cost base of municipalities. I know that the minister has already said it about the cost base in terms of salaries, that people get hired outside the chronogram, people get hired at the huge salaries. All that will go to have a burden in the municipality finances. So much so that currently, as we see on the news also, Chairperson, just to take the opportunity again, quite a number of municipalities are also owing the pension fund. So that's another also area of crisis that is also brewing within the system. So, Chairperson, my submission is that if ever it's possible, look at the modalities, let's get the government department to honor their debt and pay the municipalities. I think also that can also assist, Chairperson. Thanks for the opportunity.
Okay, thanks, Sifiso. Thanks, Murali. Chairperson, hand over back to you. I think I checked with Dudu. She's been covered. She's been covered by the Deputy Minister. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Colleagues, with all respect, all I hear is bring you to do it. What I want us to look at is how do we make it work? You know, Eskom has been bailed out with billions and billions of rands, and here we sit with the Department of Water and Sanitation that could maybe look at 50 million rand to bail out 2 water boards. I really think we need to start to look out of thinking out of the box in ways of how we can make it work, and not the reasons why we can't make it work. So please, I really plead, Deputy Minister, that yourself and COCTA and DWS come back to this committee with a workable plan. If it means legislation needs to change or regulations needs to be implemented or top slicing needs to be done, as the Deputy Minister Mthlobo has indicated, then that is something we must do, and we must do it with all municipalities that owe the water boards money going forward. DG, I see your hand is up. Would you like to answer the 50 million rand question?
Yes, thank you very much, Chairperson. Honourable Maklala asked, why have we only asked National Treasury to if we put permission to reprioritise our 50 million of our budget and not more? Honourable Maklala, we don't get any budget from National Treasury to subsidise the water boards. It doesn't exist. And we don't just get given a budget by Treasury and we just decide what to do with it. We get given money by National Treasury for very specific programs and activities. And our budget at this time in the financial year, our budget is committed to all those programs and activities. So if, for example, we have gone out on tender and awarded contracts, we can't just cancel them and take the money and use it for something else. Or if we've employed people, we can't just stop paying people and take the money to use it for something else. So we have very little money in our budget, which is not already committed to other things. So we searched through our budget and we saw where can we stop things that we were still going to do with the funds allocated to us by Treasury, which will have itself negative consequences, and ask Treasury for permission to reprioritise that from what they originally gave it to us to do to give money to these two water boards to stop them from going bankrupt. In addition, Honourable Maklala asked, why haven't we asked Treasury for additional money? We have approached Treasury to ask them to work with us on finding a solution to this problem that we are having sleepless nights about the imminent bankruptcy of these two boards within the next 6 to 12 months. And National Treasury, as you can hear from the two presentations, is talking to us about it. But National Treasury and ourselves, Honourable Maklala, share the concern that we need to be very careful how we do this, because if we as DWS start permanently subsidising these water boards, it'll mean that we'll have to cut back on our expenditure on other things such as infrastructure grants to municipalities, which will also have dire consequences. Or National Treasury will have to find the money somewhere, and increasingly municipalities will stop paying the water boards, and then there'll have to be an increase in taxes, which nobody wants either. So we agree with National Treasury that this is a wicked, complex problem, and we need to work together to find a sustainable solution to it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honourable Ramahila, your questions?
Thank you, Chair. Hey, though we are very tired, today has been hectic. Well, first, I would like to say we really share the frustrations, the concerns regarding the imminent closure of the board due to bankruptcy if the money is not paid. But would also like to also agree with the proposal about the DM of a joint portfolio committee that we need to look at. But also that departments that owe municipalities must be made to pay. Now, what is the difficulty for us as a portfolio committee chair? Is that we are sitting here with no concrete proposals. Concrete proposals from National Treasury as to this is what we are proposing to the portfolio committee. And our limitations in this regard is the legislation and all those things, so that ourselves, the portfolio committee, empowered to can be able to involve in reviewing the legislation to enable us to deal with the matter in a long term. But all that we are going to do here are half measures, because if you have to think about it, the local government model in the current local government model is not sustainable, Chair. We can try all these sorts of things. It's not sustainable. You go, National Treasury knows, you go to the balance sheet of the municipalities, in the majority, the payables are more than the receivables. In a moment, you have a payables be more than the receivables. It tells you that municipality is not financially sustainable. It's only, I think, in metro municipalities, in urban municipalities, that you in most is have a chance of finding receivables actually being more than the payables. So I'm saying this model of local government is not sustainable. Let's have clear proposals so that when we talk to the proposals that have been presented here. I'll agree to one thing and one thing, the reforms. Up and until the reforms are shared with this portfolio committee to bring a long-term solution. But currently, as the portfolio committee, I don't see us doing that. I'll still go back to the National Treasury to ask the National Treasury to bring a proposal, find a way and means of addressing these water boards that are facing imminent closure due to bankruptcy. Thank you.
By the honourable member. Would you, Honourable Serapin, would you like to speak on the statement that the honourable member has made?
Yes, Chairperson. I think the honourable member has hit the nail on the head, Honourable Stanley, about the sorry, I think it is. But the honourable member has hit the nail on the head. The funding model for local government, as was put in the presentation, and as the technical team from Treasury has said, the trading services are no longer operating at a profit because of tariff issues, because of municipalities not collecting revenue, and so on. And they've put a big focus on the metro trading services as well. Part of the problem with the system, Chair, as it stands, is that it presumes that local government will sell trading services at a profit and use those profits to cross-subsidize poor households, as well as other functions of the municipality. Clearly, that in an environment where collection rates are dropping and so on, that is not sustainable. But Chair, I can say that the IGR team, as well as the interministerial committee between Treasury and COGTA, is looking at reviewing the financing model for municipalities. That work is deep and technical in nature. I know that the COGTA department, from my interactions, Chair, also wants to review the 98 white paper in local government where these assumptions were made. And when that review is completed, I'm hoping that we can return to Parliament in general with those reviews done between the interministerial committee that's been set up. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honourable Kobe.
Chair, I think thank you so much, Chair. I think I'm mostly covered by what Honourable Stanley was saying. But also speaking to what I think one of the previous speakers was talking about when he made reference to the fact that even when municipalities are given money, they take it towards hiring more staff. And I think, Chair, what we are dealing with right now with water boards is that water boards are a symptom. They're not the root issue. The root problem goes to local government. It goes to our implementing bodies. And what we are speaking about right now is a symptom of what the failure at the bottom is. So one of the things that stood out to me when they were speaking about how municipalities keep on increasing their staffing needs instead of using the money that is given to them in optimizing the municipality, is that there is a need for municipalities to really look at strengthening the internal controls and not really widening their networks of staffing needs. And I think when they do that is because there's a gap of capacity. Municipalities really need to look at capacity building and the current structure, not increasing more people, not bringing in extra money, not even looking at extra legislation. Just to give an example, Chair, I think maybe it could be a better example, but I think, you know, when China was coming into the world and operating into the global stage, one thing that China realized is that it cannot compete. This is in the 80s, that it could not compete with the global economy as it was because internally it was weak. And I think there's a need for us to look at our municipalities. If the AG report says 80% of them are not functioning optimally, we need to really start looking at how to optimize currently how they operate, how to capacitate people. There must be training. There must be sufficient resource management, because even if we collect and there are more people who are willing to pay their bills, if we cannot manage what we have at the moment, it will never work. We keep on putting money into a leaking bucket. Just, Chair, just to really re-emphasize that I feel your frustration when you say that we cannot keep on talking from one department to another department. That tells us there are limitations, there are legislative limitations, there's a legal framework where we cannot enter into the space of municipalities, but we really need to really start looking at how to have a sustainable model where we are looking at how no matter how much money we throw at this problem, it will never work because our institutional weaknesses hinder us from progressive movement in any way. Even if we put in stronger legislation, even if we put, our municipalities are just not functional, from energy to water supply. It is just a mess. So it's just a statement, Chair. No questions or nothing like that. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. Honourable Deputy Minister, I think we have concluded now the presentation and the discussion on this matter. I hope that National Treasury and this committee is on the same page of what we expect from National Treasury, COCTA, as well as Water and Sanitation, to come up with a plan how to rectify, how to save these water boards. Within the next 3 weeks, we will invite you to a committee. It will be a morning session. We will not do it in the evening. But I think if you have understood what we are requesting, we will give you the opportunity maybe to close on this matter now before we go to the last item, and you then, as National Treasury, are excused when we concluded this discussion with you. Over to you, Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you. Chairperson. Chair.
Deputy Minister. Yeah.
Chair.
Yes, Honourable Member. Can I ask the Minister quickly to respond, or do you want to say something beforehand?
I want to say something before he leaves, because after Kobe, I think he's leaving. But I don't.
You can go ahead quickly, Honourable Member.
As I come. Okay. No, I'm hearing that you are saying that we're going to organize a meeting. I'm suggesting that
we can't hear you. We can hear you now. You can continue.
Yeah, there's a problem of network in our residence. I'm suggesting for the meeting, let it be a 2-day symposium, if possible, on the matter at hand. And then we widen the stakeholders with academics, maybe NGOs, SALGA, COCTA, National and Provincial Treasury, the Department of Water and Sanitation, so that there's a wider scope of possible financial and legislative recommendation that could guide the way forward on this matter. Thank you. I just wanted to add on what you are suggesting, but Mina, I'm saying let it be as a 2-day symposium.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I understand that, Honourable Member. What I suggest is that let them first come back with a proposal to us, and then we will set up this, what you are suggesting, with other stakeholders as well, to see whether we cannot finalize and getting to a solution to resolve the problems that we have. My apology, Honourable Siripin. You are welcome now to close the session. Your session. We still got another session to continue on with.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chairperson and Honourable Members. First, let me thank the committee for the robust engagement, the hard questions, and for giving the opportunity for the team to present both the long-term planning that we are doing to get the right kind of investment in municipalities, as well as the problems we have. Chairperson, we also appreciate the direction from Parliament and the fact that Parliament is asserting itself very strongly, which is one of what, when you look at the recommendations of the Zondo Commission, the independence of Parliament and Parliament putting this kind of pressure onto the executive arm is exactly what that commission expected us to do. So I do want to welcome all of the engagement here. I think we have our marching orders from the committee, Chairperson. I have just written off an email to the DDG for IGR, to some of the team who were here as well as to the DG, to make sure that we put this all together and that we brief both the DG and the minister accordingly, so that we can return to the committee as per the request of Parliament, Chairperson. So we will see you again in due course. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, National Treasury. Deputy Minister, can I just find out, I'm talking to Deputy Minister Matlobo, whether the Minister is on the platform, as we requested the Minister to do a presentation on Amatola Water.
She's not on the platform, Minister, Chairperson.
Deputy Minister, is it possible that you can find out whether she could join us on the platform?
Okay, I'll check, because she was down there in Cape Town and I was deployed in Gauteng. Let me check.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we're also in Cape Town. We saw the Minister in the house today. Whilst we wait for that, can I ask Deputy Minister whether the DG can continue with the presentation? We unfortunately must conclude before 9, and that is a strict instruction of the chair of the chairs that we should not extend the meeting longer than 9 o'clock. So with your permission, Deputy Minister, could we then ask that the department present the report, or would you like to speak on the report before that?
The DG in the meantime can proceed, Chairman.
And the DG, Honourable Moore, your hand is up. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Honourable
I'm so
Moore,
sorry.
before we proceed, your hand is up.
Yes, sorry, Chairperson. I think your internet's a little fuzzy. I just wanted to say, Chair, I think it's really important that we have the Minister here. The entire point of this session is obviously, as part of the same team, And although the committee and the ministry work separately, we're doing oversight together, but we're part of the same team. We really need the minister to provide her perspective, because she's at a core part of the actions that were taken with regards to the Amatola Water Board. And if she's not here and then we get more questions, then we're going to have another session. And I just want to preface that if we go ahead without the minister, I'm almost certain, and I don't mean to say this to be difficult, but I'm almost certain at the end of the presentation, I'm going to be asking us to have another session on this with the minister. And I'm sorry to put that pressure on you, Chair, but that's just where I am with this.
Yeah, so what I understand 100% what you are saying. So my proposal will be, if the minister is not going to be on, we can do two things. We can postpone this meeting till another date when the minister is available, or we can take this presentation and call the minister back for a second time. So I would like to be guided by the portfolio committee on how they would like to deal with this matter. I see the Deputy Minister's hands up. Minister, would you like to enlighten us on the minister's situation?
No, Chair, I learned that the minister did submit an apology. I will agree with the honorable member, because certain decisions were executive decision between the correspondence as an executing authority with the shareholder, the accounting authority on the side. But the committee can make a decision, but I will actually go along to say, let's allow the minister, that the minister is here and us as the deputies when this presentation is made. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. I just would like to say that I did not approve the minister's apology. We wrote back to the minister to say that we can accommodate the minister after 8 o'clock and whether the minister will join us. And she did not even revert back to us. But can I be led by the committee members? Honourable Matlala, can I ask that we don't waste some time now? If the minister is not here, do we postpone or we continue with the presentation by the department?
No, Chair. I'm actually not going to delay any the meeting any further. But what I want to say is we must not allow the minister to do that to us. It must never happen, because the previous minister who used to do these things was Honorable Sisulu, who used to undermine us even when we have appointments of meetings where the minister has been informed properly. The minister was with us in the house today, and she came and apologized on a very important matter of Amatola that is facing crisis as we are speaking now. So we cannot take it very light that the minister is not in this meeting. We had to postpone the meeting now because she's not here. We are not going to run this, she's not going to run this department as she wish. The minister must avail herself. We are dealing with issues of national importance, and she cannot take us for granted as she's doing now. We are not going to tolerate that. And she must be reprimanded, Chairperson, be told that she must never repeat this. I second the postponement of the meeting. The other issue being the issue of time. If you are saying that the chair of chairs is saying by 9 o'clock we must be done, obviously it's 17 past 8. The presentation is still going to take place maybe for about 30 to 40 minutes. And then when is the time for questions? Because what is important here is us to ask questions to the minister and the department. Thank you.
I think the chairperson's network has kicked him out.
My apology, my signal is also very bad. At this stage, it just blogs out. I don't want us to have a debate on this matter now. The question on the table is, would we postpone this meeting? I have got a proposal for that. can I get a seconder that we propose that we postpone this meeting to another date that we will communicate? I have got a proposer. Can I get a seconder on that? Honorable Ramaila.
It is seconded, Chair, but we need to have a full grasp of the matter for all of us, so that even when we postpone, must fully be able to participate at an equal level, because I thought we have been discussing matters in the absence of the minister, but the presence of the deputy ministers. Thank you.
Yeah, apologies. Has he fallen off?
But I raised my hand virtually, so I thought the chair was going to follow that order. I do understand Honorable Ramaila came before me, but it looks like the chair has got some technical glitches with his connection.
Chairperson, you are muted.
The network where you stay in leadership is very, very weak.
My apology. My apology. Yeah, I stay in the Case Park, Minister, and that's where the signal is weak. My apology. I was muted. Honourable Tebe, do we all concur that we will postpone this meeting and release the department and the ministers?
Yeah, Chair, I agree that we postpone the meeting so that we are fully apprised of all the underlying issues. But at the risk of debating this matter, and I'm not debating it, I'm saying it's for the very first time that the minister is unavailable to present or, to us or share her views with us about a particular matter. I'm just saying, Chairperson, that the tone that Honorable Mahlala uses suggests that she is known for that pattern of behavior, and she is not. And we should understand we have different roles, the executive and the legislature. So let's mutually reinforce one another and not treat one another with suspicion unduly. I think the tone is unfortunate. This is a platform that is accessed by other people. So I do not think that the minister is trying to not make herself available deliberately, consciously, whatever her reasons, but there certainly is no pattern on her part to try and frustrate our work. You know how passionate she is about this. She has her skin in the game. Thank you.
I totally agree, Honourable Member. It is so that the Minister is always available for this committee. Whatever the reason may be, I have written back to the Minister to ask whether she will not be able to avail herself after 8 o'clock to discuss this matter as a matter of urgency. But the fact is the Minister is not here, and I would like to judge the Minister for the reason that she is not here. So can I then conclude by giving the last bite on this matter to Honourable Moore? Honourable Matlala, you have said what you had to say. I would like now to give Honourable Moore to give the final word on this matter, if you don't mind. Honourable Moore?
May I please come in, Chair, after Honourable Moore?
You're welcome, but let's first get Honourable Moore quickly.
Thank you, Chair. I was actually going to say I am one of the few people who would be happy to have the presentation anyway, since we're all here, because I think the department put together 6 slides, but the decision has moved on, and I appreciate that. From my perspective, we wanted to hear from the board with regards to the decisions that were made. I was hoping for some answers on some technical answers on the process that was followed. And obviously, I emphasized the need for urgency to avoid any friction, exactly as is starting to emerge in this meeting, because the minister does not have I agree with the previous speaker, does not have a bad history with our department. Actually, she's been very good with our committee, and that's why I wanted to get ahead of this matter and not leave it till after recess. But it seems that is being taken away from us, and we may actually be significantly delayed. However, I will re-emphasize my request that when we go ahead, at some point, I would like also response, including the board, if we're going to now delay for a further month to be after recess. Thank you, Chair. And I like I say, I understand the reason for the delays. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. Yes, we'll set up a special session, maybe something like this again, for this specific matter, so that we don't hamper the work of the committee that has already been given to us, and we'll also have to juggle to bring back National Treasury and move some issues on. I'm giving you the last word, Honourable Matlala. And please, I would like us not to end up in a fight. You've got your opinion. You're welcome to your opinion. Let's then resolve that we continue with this in the next meeting.
No, thanks so much, Chairperson. I hope we organize again this meeting as soon as possible, immediately after the recess. If possible, there are committees that are also sitting during the recess. We can organize the meeting to sit even during the recess period, because the issue of Amatola is very urgent, and we need to deal with it with the agency it deserves. So, unfortunately, I'm not going to respond to Honorable Jitebe of how he feels about what I said. We are not happy. We cannot organize a meeting and just on the day of the meeting at this 11th hour, we are told that the minister have apologized. Even after you send the minister a message, Honorable Basson, the minister never came back to you to say that I'm not going to be able to do that. We must not be treated with disrespect in this committee. We must make sure that we are always there and be able to serve our people with dignity and respect. Whoever who feels how, I don't care about those things. We are here. We are doing our work. We took time. We're supposed to be flying back to the places where we come from, but we told ourselves we're not going anywhere because we had to be in part of this meeting. And someone alone just come and make sure that the meeting get postponed. It's not going to happen. Whoever who feels how, we are at work, we are not going to massage each other. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honourable Minister, Deputy Minister and Deputy Minister Sitolo, our sincere apology that we cut this meeting short. DG, for you and your team that also worked overtime tonight, and I don't think you get money for it. Well, we don't get money for it. And that we will continue. If it is in the recess, I will communicate with the personnel and the members. If we can do this in the recess period and get approval to do that, we will consider doing that. So from my side as a chairperson, I sincerely apologize that we cut this meeting short. It is no sense having this discussion without the minister, as we felt that the minister should enlighten us on the problems in that water board before we have any discussions with that water board. I hope you accept our apology, and good evening to everybody.
Thank you, Chair. Mohlala, don't throw stones in a glass house.
Uyaqala manje.
We are respecting you all
Why
the
did you not
time.
ask
Don't
me in the
throw
meeting,
stones. We have
Mahlobo?
always been available for you.
You. Now we had to cancel our flights because you said you are coming, but you are not here.
You said you are available. You wanted to be an
You
MP.
also said you are available. You should have
Recording
been here.
stopped.
Your minister.
Oh, good night.
Night, bye.
Provadiwa ribs.
Bye.
Eta.